circuit, this is known as like the graveyard shift, and I'll tell you why. Not to put Marcus under any pressure here, but this is the nightmare speaker slot, and I'll tell you why. Because everyone's gone off, they filled their bellies, all your blood is now down in your stomach, your attention span is low, your willingness to listen or assimilate information is at its very lowest point. So we had to bring in one of our strong players with a really strong title in order to engage you all for this, not to put Marcus under any pressure at all here, by saying that he's going to absolutely rock your world with if in doubt, add vampires. Now, who wouldn't be interested in a talk like that? So when I say, are we ready for Marcus, how much energy are we going to give him?
Nice.
That's more like it, folks, and kudos to you. Well, Marcus, take it away, fella. No pressure on you at all, but we're expecting an absolutely smashing conversation or talk here.
He pulled that intro back a little bit, didn't he? I wasn't sure where that was going in the beginning. So listen, today's title, as you can read for yourself. So before I kick off, I'll introduce myself. I'm Marcus. I'm co-founder of an agency called Tommy, and I've been working in digital now for 20 years. I was thinking about this. And in dog years, that means I'm probably dead, right? But it's a long time. And, I remember the sort of advent of rich media advertising, being able to put a travel booking engine into a banner. It blew my little brain away. The ability to, the advent of user-generated content and blogs and the heralding of video marketing. And each generation of sort of digital has really changed the way we see the world. So right now, I'm really quite excited about what we're seeing in the metaverse and like what you can do now. And obviously wherever it's going to take us in the future, there's lots of exciting things. So today's session, really, I'm going to focus on, I want to show you a few campaigns, and these are sort of like I want to show, first of all, that the major barriers for adoption might not be what you think. And also, these are some of the building blocks, I think, to metaverse strategies. These campaigns are all under the sort of umbrella of entertainment experiences for audiences and how you attract an audience. And they definitely got a couple of things in common. One, they got ready-made audiences, which Netflix love when you think about that. So, I'm looking at some of the strategies, and you've seen the numbers of people who might turn up on one of the metaverse platforms. You've got to really think about how do you get your audience. So we show that. Next thing, obviously, is showing how you can clicker here. Trade influence, right? So bring those in that have got the numbers and ensure that these experiences are really successful for the investments you've done. And as I said, these are all done through the lens of entertainment experiences. So let's kick off this session. As I said, I think if anyone's read the preamble, the vampires might be fake, but some of these screams you hear are real. Okay, right, I think everyone's sitting down. Just we've been playing around with this laptop, so I'm going to get this. There we go. Right. Okay. So Netflix. We all know about Netflix, but there is truly been working on them for years now, and there's a level of speed of innovation I think that a lot of companies can't match. And they're always playing around with categories, exploring these new cultural terrains. And today I'm going to show you how they're connecting audiences through social play. And when we work with them, there's three themes that's always come up, right? Netflix want to create popular culture moments in market, deliver blockbuster experiences, and drive brand love. And really, their marketing North Star is to make people so excited about the content that they sign up and watch. So I'll kick off, I'm going to show you this is the first of three campaigns. And I'm going to show you how they start innovating and how they start to think about these audiences and pulling them in for an experience. So first up, we've got a first of its kind, lockdown-proof, pan-regional digital scavenger hunt, powered live escape room Twitch game show. Quite a mouthful, but let's go and have a look at what that looks like. Right, hopefully this is going to play in a second. Not sure what's gone on there. Is anyone in tech there? Hello? Oh yeah, sorry. We've not even got to the zombies yet. This is the preamble to the zombies. It's the problem with digital, right? Never worked with animals in digital. Yeah, it's embedded YouTube.
Hands. Anyone fantasized about being a vampire at any stage in their life or anything like that? It's a real downer when the tech goes down. And let this be a lesson to anyone, folks. You know, getting here, checking the tech, getting it all to work. But also, I mean, I know that with Marcus, he's got a very visual presentation. And obviously, when you're dealing with vampires, you need that. But as a speaker, as it could happen to any of you. And this is one thing that I train people on, that if you're doing a pitch, yeah, especially if it's for funding, and you've got your PowerPoint, and you've got it there, and you know it's going to get you out of jail, there's some times where the tech goes down, everything goes wrong, and for that point, you need to be ready with a backup plan, a plan B, just to spin around and give it large. So, exactly. Now, if I was to put the microphone in your hands right now, would you be able to deal with it? Yes. Now, that's the spirit. But we've got Marcus back now. He's heading up. What's your name? Tiffany, get on the stage. Give Tiffany a round of applause. She's going to fill in the gaps. Come on, folks. Come on, Tiffany. You have got 1 minute to dazzle us.
I don't even know any Web3 jokes. I wasn't expecting this. So can I have a show of hands here today? Who has been enjoying the conference so far today? Woohoo! That is wonderful to see. Can I ask a show of hands, who met someone new at lunch today? Great. Now, I'm going to ask you I've probably only got 30 seconds left, right? 30 seconds. Can I ask you, if you haven't already, to turn to the person next to you and introduce yourself? We might have changed seats over lunchtime.
Now, that's the spirit. Get them going. Look at you. Like, I'm going to step down. We've got Tiffany back in now.
Well chatting.
Well done, Tiffany. Give us a hug. Well done. Well done. Okay, folks, let's take this to another level. We're gonna get the energy moving. You've got your lunch to digest. You've got all sorts of stuff going on. I'll tell you, we're going to have a little rule, folks, because I know I keep starting you off. In fact, Tiffany did a phenomenal job there of getting you started. She did a great job of getting you started, but we need a way to slow things down when people get a little bit too into it. So, if I can ask folks, just for a second, if you can put your hands up just for a second, folks. I promise I'll spruce the energy up in a second. If you just be quiet just for a second, we're going to put our hands up. Okay, so this is going to be our code. If I'm going to get you started and let you go out networking and do all this mad talking thing, because let's face it, it's far more fun talking about yourself than it is listening to somebody else talk about themselves or what they're doing. So we're going to spark something up, but at a certain point, I'm going to need to stop it. And to do that, I'm going to put my hand up. And if you see me with my hand up or anyone with their hand up, I would just ask you to do one thing. If you could be quiet and put your hand up just so we could cut it out, because the faster we can stop these random let's go with the flow sort of scenarios, the more I'll be able to do them without having to worry that we've just lost the room. They're all going to network. We'll not be able to do any more of the talks. Marcus, are you all right there? Did you want to do any more talking? You sure? We're just going to go with it. Okay, folks, stand up. Come on, let's spruce some energy. Let's spruce it. Now, I am going to ask you, just by a show of hands, who's sitting next to someone that they'd already spoken to before they came into the room? By a show of hands, who's sitting next to someone that they've already spoken to last time they got in the room? Okay, I'm going to ask all of you people with your hands up, one of you, go and move and sit next to someone completely different. Mix it. Come on. This is your chance. To go and meet somebody new. Come on, let's go with the flow here, folks. Let's go with the flow. And one other question. Did anybody find their name on the bit that they scrunched up and threw across the... Has anybody actually located their piece of paper? It's going. Okay, I'm going to do it. Let's test it. Let's test it, folks. Well done. Gold star over there. Gold star there as well. It's taken a little bit to catch on, the old hand thing.
Testing. Am I on?
Okay, folks, notice the hand. This is the hand thing. It's the hand thing we talked about. Come on. Look, we've got Marcus back now. We got Marcus back. We got vampires. We got Marcus. We got vampires. We've got a bit of spruced up energy, and we've got people at almost smooth seats that are sitting next to somebody that we're sitting next to. But it's all about getting to know good new people. Are you ready to rock and roll here, Marcus?
The clicker's not working from here, guys. Miles's, all right, his phone was going. Right, good. I think I'm ready.
Good stuff. Okay, folks. I know that we've had a little minor interlude here, but let's pretend that the last couple of minutes
the clicker's not working very well, guys.
We're going to press the factory reset here on the computer, and I'm going to introduce Marcus as though you don't even know who he is and he never started the presentation in the first place. So, without further ado, folks, let's give Marcus a nice, warm round of applause as he talks about vampires. Thank you.
Thank you, Metaverse, for messing around on my presentation. And thank you for Tiffany for filling in. That was great. I think really good. So where were we? Right, so we're talking about Netflix innovation for anyone who's just joined late. Going to show 3 campaigns that demonstrates the way they're playing with the category. And these are all about building blocks, not necessarily everything in its entirety. I'm not going to say that line again. You can have a read of that because it was quite a mouthful the first time I said it. So this is the first thing that we tested with them last year. I want to show how this looks. So hopefully the volume plays, and we're going to have a bit of fun now. Right.
die Seite hier. 3 zu 3.
Ekran, telefon i...
I need to show you it so badly. No, you guys can use the internet. I can't use the internet. I can't use the internet. I'm proud of us, Dad. I'm proud of us.
Let's go!
I'm drinking it. I don't even care. Kill me off. So let's all say thank you, Netflix.
Great, that played finally. Can I get next slide? 'Cause this is not working. I'm just going to say next slide, Mars. Is that right? Yeah, I'll keep saying that. So what we're seeing there, this is the first time that Netflix has done something with a Twitch and a gaming audience. But you know what was quite incredible though? In that 2 hours, 300,000 people joined. There was 135,000 messages of people helping us, you know, figure out this game show that we had put on. That was 18 a second. It was quite phenomenal numbers. It was really interesting though. Like we've got 4 really good influencers across Europe, and it's a really good way of seeing how there are these big audiences out there and how you can bring them into an experience. If I go to the next slide. One of the big things for them, even for a brand like Netflix, is they never want to feel like they're advertising at anyone. So they were still really, really cautious going into a Twitch audience because, as most of you know in the room what they can be like, and you'll be very careful. But the sentiment, there was really high levels of engagement, but the sentiment was great, which is really good for Netflix. And obviously, it was one of our first learnings where the positivity you get from the audience if you support the streamers. If you support those influencers, they love it. That's really great. So creating that entertaining experience really allowed us to sort of engage with a brand new audience. And really what Netflix are doing here, just so you know, when it comes to things like Tribes of Europa as a show, they're trying to build IP. So they don't have like a Marvel universe, or it might not have come from a book where there's got these massive fan bases. So they need to start from scratch, building fan bases. So these blockbuster experiences they do are a way of engaging a certain type of audience and building out from there. If we go to the next slide. So what's that doing? Blending live streaming, games, influence, and social media into one experience, and meeting the new needs of the audience when they meet online, because we know how much we've really progressed in the last couple of years. So it's very contextual. It's contextual for the Twitch audience, that specific audience for each of the influencers. It's interactive, and it's community. It really does harness the power of the community. So next slide. So next up, we wanted to build on that. So we did, we wanted to build like another sort of experience, where an online experience, and we wanted to rethink what you'd do for a movie premiere or a premiere of a show. So we invited a load of influencers down. So we wanted to connect a live experience with physical people at a physical space and create an online experience. And this is the thing that we sort of started talking about. So we let Twitch hijack a plane full of influencers with vampires. So go to the next slide and let's play the video.
The approach is fine.
Now extend the landing gear. Es ist endlich soweit.
Ladies and Gentlemen.
Martin's Ricky Miles. Is Miles still there? Go to the next slide, please. That'd be great. So, back up one. Yeah, thanks. So, what was interesting about this when we think about this live experience? We're meeting the need of two audiences: a live experience and then a Twitch audience. So we invited these influencers down. There's 40 influencers, the right type of influence to promote this new show. There was 0 influencer fee, so it's a really interesting way of thinking about media. If you think about some of the costs for brands to bring in influence and how much that costs for them to do a post. The 110,000 people join the event. You never get 110,000 people into a single room, into a premiere. So it really allowed the double audience in there. And obviously it played into what everyone was doing. There was massive reach. But what's more important as well is with the influencers, in the old traditional sense of getting a briefing that says what's our Instagrammable moment if we're doing an event, or what's the thing that people are going to record. The whole thing was recordable, so they were streaming live, and the amount of content they were creating and the reach was phenomenal. And again, this is like a new IP that Netflix are creating, and it's the first German show to go to #1 internationally on the play charts. So if you can scroll up to the next slide, and I think this campaign really illustrates how brands can reach passionate communities like Twitch communities. Can we go to the next slide, please? That'd be great. This shows how you can reach really passionate communities. And Netflix took in full advantage of the platform's features, which is really important, you guys would know about this, to create interactive element for the event, gamifying the experience, so the Twitch users could be just not spectators but participants as well. And that was really important. So it was just really interesting way of how you, again, go and attract a community to come into an event and think about it in that way. If we go to the next slide. So we're harnessing, again, the power of influencers to take full advantage of the platform's features. We're gamifying an experience, and we're turning users from spectators to participants, so they're not just a lean-back sort of experience. So it's interactive, gamified, fun, right? So that's what we'd call a perfectly themed interactive event, and a really interesting way of thinking about a physical event. If you asked a lot of brands, I don't think many would do that. Would you let us take over a live premiere or a live experience and actually let it be controlled by 110,000 people on Twitch? Probably the answer would be no, or they'd want to see that. But this is how Netflix are playing around, and the numbers in there are phenomenal. So if you go to the next slide. So the last campaign is building this in a slightly different way. How do you reimagine the trailer launch, and what would that look like? So what we came up with the idea is around, instead of watching a trailer, what if you could play it? So if you go to the next slide. As we all know, gamers prefer to be entertained, right? They don't want to be advertised at, and they don't want to be disrupted in any shape or form. They love challenges, skills, and teams. So we said, instead of disrupting gamers to promote a movie, what if we became their next gaming challenge? And this is for the launch of Army of Thieves. So if we go to the next slide. And what we did is we wanted to create a challenge that any gamer, amateurs or pros, would like to undertake to entertain an audience. We worked with the community called Rust, for those of you who know Rust gamers. So I think it's about 1.2 or 1.8 million people in that community. So again, that's there's a defined audience there. We built a unique environment for them, collaborated with the key influencers from that category, from the Rust gamers, and again, just got them to come in, collect their teams. If you go to the next slide, and create an active experience. So we created the Army of Thieves 4-Volt Challenge, which did the same thing. Use the influencers, gather your team, come in, have a timed experience, crack all the codes, winner takes all, right? So again, it's tapping into a very specific community, highly organised, highly engaged with you, which is great, and building an experience that's really contextual for them. If you go to the next slide, I'm just going to play you about a minute of the gameplay until we get into the saves, and then we'll slick on to the next slide. I'm just going to play this for about a minute. You have a little look at some. Can you take the volume off? Put the volume on. Thanks. Nice bit of lift music for you here. This will send you back to sleep after all that food. Here is the first of the saves to crack. So you get the idea. So we'll just skip on to the next slide. Skip on to the next slide, that'd be great. So that's great. Again, a branded experience, niche community, based on experience, and giving them all the things they want, character skins, but more importantly, teamwork, engagement, coming together, being able to chat to their favourite streamers and things. And this is really about, Netflix, I suppose, in some ways, developing their right to play in the gaming space and how they're doing that. They're very cautious about they do that. And then this is about joining people where they are with an immersive live, environment, and these digital playgrounds are their playgrounds, right? So if you go to the next slide, that's, the point of this is like jump into ready-made niche communities. I mean, there's so many of them, right? Like, I was reading something on Reddit this morning, there's 100,000 communities on there, isn't there? Like, there's always these communities for everything that you want to do. It doesn't matter what the brand is, and I know this is Netflix playing around with gaming audiences, but, I think that's really important about finding those communities, build anticipation. You do that through the influencers you're working with, and then reward the streamers with an activation worth participating in. So they love that. They get massive support for that. This has got participation, which is great. So everyone gets to play. It's contextual. We know what the Rust gamers want, and it's a perfectly themed event for them. And it's rewarding, so it's a rewarding event. Can you skip on to the next slide, please? I think these activations are proof of how online spaces can blossom into community-branded events with an entertainment experience. That's the lens of this, clearly. And there's obviously, you give people motivations for tuning in and participating. And I think the attendance figures is what people should pay attention to, especially some of those media costs. If you think about that premiere hijack, if you think about some of the media costs to reach 5 million people that they'll throw hundreds of thousands at, well, actually, if you didn't have to spend money on the influencers and put money into an event, there's a really interesting way of reaching people in a very, very different way. And that's kind of, I suppose, how Netflix were thinking about this. So if you just flick on to the last slide. So what can we learn from these? To craft effective metaverse experiences, think about attracting ready-made, raring-to-go communities with vast audiences. That's the theme here, right? They're there. So, I've seen some of the strategies, I've seen some of the activations, and people, the naysayers and the positive people, that, well, what's going on in this platform here, we're not getting the numbers. No, not necessarily, and that's not necessarily going to happen. So how do you bring the numbers to whatever your experience is going to be? Understand what that community is looking for, so that's really important to know what these I wouldn't even call them niche communities, but these niche communities want. If you give them something they want, the engagement, the feedback is really positive, and it's a really, the numbers are great in terms of ROI. Build unique spaces to accommodate those communities, and they'll come, and then bring in those that trade influence to ensure the numbers, and that's it. So you support those content creators, and they'll bring the numbers in. And I think it's just, it was amazing. My hands are sweating. I know it's gameplay, but just watching this experience kick off for 90 minutes, the amount of people engaging it. We were originally going to do an escape the room. We'd have never got more than a couple of thousand people over a weekend in there. All of a sudden, we've got 110,000 people who have participated really quickly, which is great. And then leverage them as a powerful tool for driving the numbers in participation. So if you do it the right way, most of you know this, I don't need to tell you this, there's a really positive response. So in short, I think these entertaining experiences are effective, and it's a really interesting way of viewing where we are right now. It's not about bringing certain audiences who they're not into gaming or they're not online, not yet. That's not about that. It's about these mass audiences that are there and these mass communities. There's a way of reaching them. And if you go to the next slide, so really, you know, as I said, that's kind of the end of that. But so these are the building blocks of building a strategy. And of course, my punchline at the end, if you go to the next slide, remember, if you're not sure where to start, just add some vampires. Thank you for that. Jesus Christ, that was a way, wasn't it? I was sweating there. Woo! yeah, thanks.
Give him another round of applause. That's really difficult to do. Just out of curiosity, folks, who here is a presenter, public speaker? You've done public speaking. Who's up there? Who's had that roadkill moment where the tech breaks, everything breaks, it all goes wrong, people can't hear what you're saying? Who's had one of those moments? So you know. Well, Marcus has joined the club now, folks.
Thank you very much.
Fair play to him. Fair play.
I'll be around if anyone wants to chat afterwards. Come and say it.
Without further ado, I shall move swiftly on because we are running slightly behind now, and I shall invite John Nichols to come and join me on the stage.